Hey y'all, I'm Hope. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm starting the next video in my kind of Goodreads Choice 2021 Sci-Fi Fantasy Nominees series where I'm reading all of the nominees from last year in those categories. And today I'm going to be reading Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm reading this book on its own only because I couldn't figure out how to categorize it with the other books. I think it is very different from the other books. It, based on the premise, seemed very thematically different from the other books that got nominated, and I just wasn't sure where to slide it into another video, so I thought that I would give it its own video. I'm probably going to end up titling this something like Second Chance Author or something like that, because Nnedi Okorafor is an author that I really want to like her work because her ideas are so cool, but I really struggled with the previous work that I read from her, which was Binti. I read the first novel in that series, and I read, I think, half of the short story that goes with that. And I was really sad that I didn't get through that because I really liked a lot of what was going on in the story and in the world. I think that the characters were fantastic. I really liked Binti and Oku as characters, and I thought that the world building was really cool with this like kind of intergalactic university, and there was just a lot of really cool stuff in that book, and I loved the characters, but for some reason something about the plot just struggled to catch my attention, and so it took me a very long time to get through Binti, even though it was very short. And so I'm hoping that I won't run into that with Remote Control, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna like Remote Control a lot better, and maybe that will give me the push I need to kind of pick up some of her other work, because I also had Who Fears Death on my shelf, and Nor is another one that just came out, I think semi-recently, or maybe it was a reprint. But that was another one that I've seen recently that I'm kind of interested in picking up. So I am kind of hoping that Remote Control will convince me to try and pick up those other things, because I do think Nnedi Okorafor's writing is really good, and I really like the ideas that she has for her books. So that is what we're doing today. And Remote Control, I'm actually really intrigued by the synopsis, as I am with all of her books, but this one follows Sankofa, who has forgotten her original name and now goes by the name Sankofa, and she is traveling alone, accompanied only by a small fox companion, and she's, I believe, traveling across Ghana, and she is looking for an object that fell from the sky the day that she was changed. And then she has like these powers that, I think the synopsis, I have it pulled up here because I wanted to make sure I got this right. It says that she, her touch is death, and with a glance a town can fall. So clearly she's got some pretty terrifying powers, and so people are generally frightened of her. So I'm really interested to see how this one plays out, and I think that it could be a really cool story. Yeah, I'm excited and nervous to pick this one up, just because I struggled so much with Binti, and I would really like to get into Nnedi Okorafor's work because there is so much interesting stuff happening there. So keeping my fingers crossed I like Remote Control more. I'm starting it today. I've read a couple of pages already while I was making breakfast this morning. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and power through as much of that as I can today. It's currently like the 27th of February, so tomorrow's the last day of February, and I would like to go ahead and finish that this month, because it'd be really satisfying to have read 11 books. So that's what we're gonna do today, and I will check back in with you guys probably when I finished it. This is probably gonna be a very short video. Well, it's a few hours later, but it looks like I haven't moved. I have, but I just finished reading Remote Control, and good news, I actually loved it. It was really good. The premise really held up across the book. So the book is following Sankofa, both prior to the change that happens to her, so you get to see what she was like as a child before that, and then 7 years later as she has become this kind of legendary figure. And so it's following her life kind of along these, not quite two timelines, because it kind of starts present day, you get a flashback section, goes back to present day. But I really enjoyed following Sankofa. She's a really interesting character, especially because she is so young. She's, I think, kind of 4 to 7 in the kind of past timeline, and then kind of 10 to 14 in the future timeline, and she just has such an interesting perspective on the world. She really like gets along with animals. She like speaks to animals and insects that she meets. She has a very like strong presence whenever she goes places. Like, people know who she is. She uses that to her advantage. So I just really enjoyed reading her, and seeing her kind of emotional journey throughout the book as she is grappling with the abilities that she has and trying to figure out where she belongs in the world. And I thought that was just beautifully well done. The writing was fantastic. There's also a lot of really interesting side characters. I wouldn't say, I guess, a lot of side characters. She runs into a lot of different people, but there's a handful of named side characters that I thought were really interesting and that I really liked. So that was really fun too, to like see how she interacted with these other characters. And then you also get these gestures towards a larger world. And this was like one of my two gripes with the book, is that it's really unclear when the book is set. Because I think I was almost 50% of the way through when I realized that it's actually set in the future. It's not set like during our time, because you get, I think, past the 50% mark and all of a sudden there's mentions of like AI robocops and autonomous cars and things like this as being like commonplace things. And so it took me a moment, and it kind of took me out of the story to like readjust how I was reading the world based on that. So I would have liked, I guess, a little more about that earlier in the book, but once I kind of understood that this was a future story, it was fine, and I really liked the elements of the technology in the story, especially because part of Sankofa's powers mean that she can't interact with technology at all because she just destroys technology. So I thought that that was really an interesting aspect of the story. My one other gripe with this is that there is, again, these broad stroke gestures to a larger story, something bigger than Sankofa that is happening, and that I thought was really interesting. And I get that this book is very focused on Sankofa's journey and who she is, but because those things were included, I really would have liked a little more connecting those kind of more large-scale plot elements to Sankofa's situation and like her journey as a person, just because it was clear that they were connected, but that connection was like never really made. But I really enjoyed this book, and now I actually am excited to pick up more books from Nnedi Okorafor. So this really worked out for me, because I was really hoping I was going to like this more than Binti, and I really did enjoy this a lot more than Binti. I think that it's a fantastic character study and a really interesting kind of sci-fi near future, or possibly not so near future, world. So I'm excited to see what other books she's put out. I know she has Nora, I think I mentioned before, also Who Hears Death, which I haven't read yet, but I think I do have a copy sitting around somewhere, so I might have to actually pick that one up now, because I know that I liked this one a lot. So yeah, I'm thrilled that I picked this one up, even though I was kind of anxious about starting it since I didn't like Binti as much as I had hoped. So yeah, this was a really good experiment for me, and I'm glad that I did it. So that's pretty much the video for today. This one's a short one, but it is also a very short book, and I don't want to spoil too much about it because I think it's really good, and that if it sounds at all interesting to you, you should absolutely pick it up. And that's where I'm going to leave it. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a like and maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.